Good morning, Trinity family. Today we are going to be continuing the discussion we began last week on prayer. This week, rather than look at a modern anachronism, however, we're going to be looking at a classical approach to prayer. And by classical, I mean old. We're going to be learning the Examen prayer. It's a prayer method introduced by Ignatius of Loyola in the early 1500s. Yes, this is a 500-year-old prayer tool. And it's one that many of us sadly have never heard of. Ignatius recommended his students practice this prayer twice daily, with the goal of awakening themselves to their inner desires, joys, and their spiritual state. Many of us so often wear a mask, hiding our true selves, that we begin to fool ourselves. Prayers like the Examen, however, they help us realize what God is truly doing in and through our lives. And thus it helps us play our role in this divinely inspired growth. A few weeks ago, I was challenged to do the prayer daily, and I did so for a week, and it was amazing. And I'm going to be doing it again, only rather than for a week, I'm going to be doing the Examen daily for the rest of June. I'd like to challenge each of you to join me in this, and if you want to do Ignatius proud, you can even do it twice a day. But begin with once and build from there. But to do so, let me introduce you to the Examen prayer. The Examen comes in 5 steps, and as you can imagine, over 500 years, people have adjusted, modernized, and personalized the steps to fit their context and personality, and you can do so as well. But I'm going to introduce them as I learned them and as I continue to practice them today. The steps are thanksgiving, petition, review, respond, and look forward. I'll introduce each of these steps in a second. But before we begin the Examen, it's important that we recognize the presence of God. There's a practice that many call a breath prayer, and it's one I have grown to appreciate. But before you begin the Examen, you simply breathe. You breathe in and you breathe out. As you breathe in, you just pray, God, you are here. And then as you breathe out, you pray, and I am here with you. And you repeat this a few times. Let your mind become centered on the presence of God. Let the distractions and the worries of your day just fall away. And this could take you 2 breaths, it might take you 20. But it's important that you can just center yourself and focus on God. So take as much time doing this as you may need. Once we're centered, we can shift our focus to Thanksgiving. We discussed Thanksgiving in both the Acts prayer method in our 7 Minutes with God video, as well as in our tacos prayer method. Here, we practice Thanksgiving differently. Rather than simply be thankful for anything and everything all at once, we cast our mind on when you woke up. The moments at that time, what may you have been thankful for? Then we shift your focus to breakfast, the taste of the coffee, or maybe the taste of your cereal or your oatmeal or your eggs. Thank God for that ability to taste and the infrastructure that makes the existence of those things even possible. Then think of your drive to work, or preparing your kids for the day, or your morning walk. Thank God for all the good things found in those routines. And you continue this process, continually walking through your day. If you do the Examen twice a day, you don't have as much review and the joy of reviewing things when they're fresher in your memory. But again, just think of the time since you last prayed this prayer. And just pray thankfully through all the experiences, all the steps of your day. And some people prefer, rather than to pray through their day now and then future do the review step, sometimes they tie this into that step, but we'll get there in a minute. But just be praying thankfully for everything as you walk through your day, as you remember what you have done since the last time you prayed this prayer. Once we've finished thanking God, we can move on to the petition step, or some people call this the light prayer. Essentially, you are asking God for the light to know God and to know yourself as God knows me. You are about to walk through your day again in the review step. Pray that as you review your day, you'll see yourself rightly, not as you wish you were, or not as you fear you may be, but truly as God sees you, both as a fallen image bearer of himself, but also as a redeemed child of God. Pray that God will open your eyes and your heart to the truth of your day. And again, take a few breaths and center yourself. And then you can proceed to the review. In the review step, we're again walking through our day as we did with Thanksgiving. And however much time has passed since your last examen, just begin slowly walking through that process. But ask questions like, what joy have I felt today? Dwell on that time and learn how God has wired you to find joy. Or what has troubled me today? Dwell on that time and learn what areas you may need to lessen control and give the reins to God. Ask what challenged me today. Dwell on those times and ask God to strengthen you through the challenges for the future. And ask, have I noticed God's presence throughout my day, or where have I seen God today? Dwell on those times and enjoy the experience of God in your life. Then ask for tomorrow that you'll see Him even more clearly. One of the greatest joys I found in this prayer is come day 4 or day 5, you'll have attuned yourself to see God more clearly. You'll have become more aware of His actions and His presence, and it is a joy to behold. Following the review comes the response. This is a chance to reflect on the areas that we reviewed and respond to God accordingly, thanking Him for the joy, asking for aid in the trouble, asking for strength in the challenge, thanking Him for being present. Personally, I like to review and respond simultaneously. I review the item and then I respond to the item, and then I move on to the next event as I walk through the day in review. But you can do them as separate stages, review and then respond, or like me, you can do review and respond. Find whatever method is more natural and keep with it. Finally, we look ahead to tomorrow. Think through what the next day has in store. Or if you do this twice a day, think of the next few hours. Ask that you'll be aware and open to the presence of God in that time. Ask that God will prepare your heart and your mind and your body for the duties of the day. And be ready to walk with Him into the future, whatever that future may hold. Again, this is just an introduction to the Examen prayer method. There are many books and many resources available. But as you begin to practice this tool, feel free to make it your own. You can add some additional steps. You can rearrange the current ones. As long as it keeps God as the center and helps you review your day, keeping an eye out for God's involvement and inviting Him to be ever more present. That is the purpose of the Examen prayer. I thank you so much for joining us for another online experience. Next week, we're going to be doing something a bit different, something a bit more fun, a bit more lighthearted, definitely a bit less educational, but the week following, we'll be back on for some more learning and connecting with God in new and powerful ways. Until next time, God bless, and let us know again how can we be praying for you in these coming weeks.